Have you ever sat next to someone you've known for years, a family member, a close friend, and still felt strangely drained, tense, or smaller after every conversation? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Not everyone who is close to you is good for you. Stoic philosophy never taught blind loyalty. It taught clarity, self-respect, and the courage to walk away from what quietly destroys your peace. You don't lose your strength because life is hard. You lose it when you keep allowing the wrong people access to your mind. Today, we're going to look at 8 clear signs, calm, rational, unmistakable signs, that it may be time to cut ties, even with family or long-term friends. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of wisdom. If you've been feeling conflicted, guilty, or stuck between duty and self-respect, stay with me. Because choosing peace is not betrayal, it's maturity. Stoic framework: why cutting ties is not cruelty. Before we talk about signs, we need to correct something deeper. Because most people don't stay in damaging relationships because of love. They stay because of guilt, conditioning, and fear of being judged. Stoicism begins with a principle that is simple but uncomfortable. You are responsible for your judgments, your reactions, and your boundaries. You are not responsible for managing other people's behavior. This is where most suffering quietly begins. Someone repeatedly treats you with disrespect, manipulation, or emotional inconsistency. Instead of judging the behavior clearly, you soften it. They didn't mean it. That's just their personality, their family. We've known each other for years. Stoics would call this a failure of judgment, because the pain is not created by the person alone. It is created by your decision to keep granting access despite clear evidence. Let's slow this down. The behavior repeats. You reinterpret it to avoid discomfort. Your emotions erode gradually, and over time you lose clarity, confidence, and self-respect. This is not loyalty, this is self-abandonment. Stoicism never asked you to sacrifice your inner stability to preserve outer harmony. In fact, it teaches the opposite. A Stoic understands a crucial distinction. Cutting ties is not hatred. Distance is not punishment. Boundaries are not revenge. They are acts of self-governance. A Stoic does not rage, explode, or dramatize an exit. A Stoic observes patterns and responds with alignment. This is where many people get confused. They believe morality means endurance. Stoicism says morality means virtue, and virtue includes wisdom, self-respect, and restraint. If a relationship consistently pulls you away from who you are trying to become, if it clouds your judgment, drains your energy, and destabilizes your peace, then remaining out of obligation is not noble. It is irrational. You're not required to keep access open to anyone who repeatedly violates your boundaries, even if they share your blood, your history, or your past. Stoicism does not demand that you fix people. It demands that you protect your character. And sometimes, the most disciplined action is not confrontation, explanation, or closure, but quiet distance. So as we move into the 8 signs, remember this. You are not looking for excuses to abandon people. You are looking for the clarity to stop abandoning yourself. Sign 1. They consistently violate your boundaries. One of the clearest signs that a relationship is no longer healthy is not conflict, it's repeated boundary violations. Not once, not by accident, but consistently after you've made your limits clear. This can look subtle. They ignore your time, they dismiss your emotions, they push you into conversations you've said you're not ready for. They cross lines and then act surprised when you react. From a Stoic perspective, this is critical. Because boundaries are not preferences, they are expressions of self-respect. When someone repeatedly violates them, they are telling you something very simple. Your inner world is not important to them. Many people excuse this behavior by saying, "That's just how they are." They don't mean harm. They're family. But Stoicism is not concerned with intentions. It is concerned with patterns. Words promise. Patterns reveal. If someone truly respects you, they adjust. If they care, they adapt. If they don't, they repeat. And here's the part most people miss. Every time you allow a boundary violation to slide, you teach them how to treat you. Over time, the cost is not just discomfort. The cost is self-trust. You start doubting your right to say no. You feel tense before interactions. You rehearse explanations in your head. You feel guilty for wanting space. This is how relationships quietly erode your strength. Stoicism offers a clear response, not emotional, not aggressive, but disciplined. The Stoic protocol. Pause. Do not react emotionally. Observe the behavior without justifying it. Ask yourself, is this a one-time mistake or a repeated pattern? Probe. State the boundary calmly and clearly, once. No speeches, no over-explaining. Watch what happens next. Do they respect it, or do they minimize, mock, or ignore it? Protect. If the behavior continues, the Stoic response is not argument. It is distance, not to punish them, but to protect your character. Because Stoicism teaches this truth, you are not obligated to remain accessible to those who repeatedly disrespect you, even if they are family, even if they have history with you, even if walking away feels uncomfortable. Discomfort is temporary. Loss of self-respect is not. So remember this. A boundary ignored is a message received. And when someone shows you consistently that they do not respect your limits, the Stoic response is not anger. It is clarity. Mantra. My boundaries are non-negotiable. Sign 2. They make you doubt yourself. This sign is more dangerous than open disrespect because it doesn't attack you directly. It slowly erodes your trust in yourself. You walk away from conversations replaying everything in your head. You wonder if you overreacted, if you misunderstood, if you're too sensitive. And over time, you stop trusting your own perception. This is not self-reflection. This is psychological destabilization. From a Stoic perspective, this is serious, because your judgments are the foundation of your freedom. When someone repeatedly makes you question your reality, they are interfering with the very thing Stoicism tells you to guard most, your reason. This often happens subtly. They deny things they clearly said. They twist events until you feel confused. They minimize your feelings while sounding calm and reasonable. They say things like, "You're imagining things. You're taking it the wrong way." That's not what happened. Over time, the pattern becomes clear. You start apologizing first, even when you did nothing wrong. You hesitate before expressing concerns. You ask others to confirm what you felt, what you saw, what you heard. And that's the cost. When you no longer trust yourself, you become easier to control, easier to guilt, easier to manipulate. Stoicism is uncompromising on this point. Your perception may not always be perfect, but surrendering it to someone else is far worse. Marcus Aurelius warned against this without using modern language. Do not hand over your mind to people who do not respect it. Here's the Stoic test. Not their words, not their explanations, but the after effect. Ask yourself this question honestly. Do I feel clearer after interacting with this person, or more confused? Clarity is a sign of healthy relationships. Chronic confusion is not. The Stoic protocol. Pause. Stop defending your memory or emotions in the moment. Observe how often this pattern appears. One time can be a misunderstanding. Repeated confusion is a signal. Probe. State facts, not emotions. Short, calm, grounded. Watch their response. Do they acknowledge reality, even if they disagree? Or do they dismiss your experience entirely? Protect. If your perception is consistently invalidated, the Stoic move is to reduce exposure. not to convince them, not to prove yourself, but to preserve your inner authority. Because Stoicism teaches this, you cannot live virtuously if you don't trust your own judgment, and anyone who repeatedly undermines that is not someone you can safely stay close to, even if they claim to mean well, even if others say you should just ignore it. Ignoring it costs too much. So remember, a relationship that makes you doubt your sanity will eventually steal your strength. The Stoic does not argue with distortion. He steps back into clarity. Mantra. I trust my perception. Sign 3. They always play the victim. This sign traps people longer than almost anything else. Because when someone constantly plays the victim, you feel cruel for even thinking about leaving. No matter what happens, they are the one who was hurt, the one who was misunderstood, the one who had no choice, and somehow, you are always the one who needs to adjust. From a Stoic perspective, this is a serious warning, because responsibility is the foundation of character, and a person who never takes responsibility cannot grow, cannot change, and cannot sustain a healthy relationship. Victimhood often hides behind convincing language. They talk about their trauma, their difficult past, their stress, their bad luck. And those things may be real. But Stoicism makes a sharp distinction. Suffering explains behavior. It does not excuse repeated harm. Watch the pattern carefully. When there is conflict, they shift blame. They rewrite the story. They cry, withdraw, or accuse you of being insensitive. The conversation never moves toward resolution. It moves toward guilt, and slowly, roles are assigned. They are fragile. You are responsible. You become careful with your words. You walk on eggshells. You suppress your needs so they don't feel attacked. This is not compassion. This is emotional captivity. Stoicism does not deny empathy, but it rejects enabling irresponsibility. Because when someone refuses to own their actions, they silently ask you to carry the consequences. Over time, the cost becomes heavy. You feel drained, resentful, and confused. You give more. They grow weaker, not stronger. That is not support. That is imbalance. The Stoic protocol. Pause. Stop rushing to rescue, explain, or soothe. Observe how often they take responsibility versus deflect it. One difficult moment is human. A consistent pattern is character. Probe. Calmly name behavior, not emotion. Not, you make me feel bad, but this keeps happening and accountability is missing. Watch closely. Do they reflect, or do they collapse into defensiveness and blame? Protect. If responsibility never appears, distance becomes necessary. Not as punishment, but as realism. Because Stoicism teaches this truth, you cannot build a stable life with someone who refuses to stand on their own feet, even if they are family, even if you feel sorry for them, even if leaving makes you look cold. Cold is not the problem. Living your life carrying someone else's unresolved patterns is. The Stoic understands. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. So remember, a person who is always the victim will eventually make you the sacrifice. And the Stoic does not sacrifice his character to preserve someone else's avoidance. Mantra. I don't rescue grown adults. Sign 4. They only show up when they need you. This sign is easier to miss. Because on the surface, it looks like connection. They call, they text, they suddenly remember you exist. But only when they need something. Advice, support, time, money, emotional labor. And when you need them? Silence, excuses, distance. From a Stoic perspective, this is not friendship. It is utility disguised as closeness. Stoicism places great importance on reciprocity, not in a transactional sense, but in a moral one. Healthy relationships flow both ways. Unhealthy ones extract. Pay attention to the pattern. They reach out during crisis. They disappear during calm. They unload their problems. They rarely ask how you truly are. And when you try to share something difficult, the conversation quickly turns back to them, or ends altogether. Over time, you begin to feel something subtle but damaging. You feel useful, but not valued. That distinction matters. Being valued means your presence matters. Being used means your availability matters. Stoicism warns against confusing the two, because when someone only shows up to take, they are not invested in your growth, only in your capacity to give. And here's the quiet cost. You start anticipating their needs. You feel guilty for saying no. You overextend to keep the peace. Eventually, exhaustion replaces generosity. This is not because you lack compassion. It's because compassion without boundaries turns into self-neglect. Stoicism does not ask you to harden your heart. It asks you to direct your energy wisely. The Stoic Protocol. Pause. Step back and observe the rhythm of the relationship. Ask yourself honestly, do they show up for me without being asked? Patterns don't lie. Probe. Reduce availability slightly, not with anger, not with explanations, just space. Watch what happens. Do they respect it, or do they pressure, guilt, or vanish? Protect. If the connection collapses when you stop overgiving, you've learned the truth. Distance is not abandonment, it is correction. Because Stoicism teaches this: your energy is a finite resource, and wasting it is a moral failure to yourself. You're not here to be a convenience. You're not here to be drained. Even if they've leaned on you for years, even if they call you the only one who understands. Understanding does not require self-erasure. The Stoic chooses balance over burnout. And when reciprocity is absent, the wise response is not resentment. It is withdrawal. Mantra: reciprocity is respect. Sign 5. They envy you while pretending to care. This sign is dangerous because it hides behind concern. They don't attack you directly. They don't openly oppose you. Instead, they question, discourage, and subtly undermine. All while claiming they're just looking out for you. They say things like, "Are you sure that's realistic? I'm just worried you might get hurt. Don't get your hopes too high." On the surface, it sounds caring, but over time, you notice something unsettling. Your growth makes them uncomfortable. From a Stoic perspective, envy is not loud hatred. It is resentment toward what someone else dares to become. And people who have not faced their own potential often feel threatened by those who do. Watch the pattern. When you talk about improvement, ambition, or change, they minimize it. They inject doubt. They remind you of past failures. But when you struggle, hesitate, or stay small, they seem calm. Even relieved. That contrast matters. Stoicism teaches that character reveals itself under comparison. Not everyone wants to see you rise, especially if it forces them to confront their own stagnation. And here's the subtle damage. You begin censoring yourself. You stop sharing wins. You shrink your dreams to avoid tension. Slowly, you abandon parts of yourself. Not because you failed, but because someone close to you couldn't tolerate your progress. That is not care. That is insecurity in disguise. Stoicism does not require you to convince others of your path. It requires you to walk it without asking permission. The Stoic Protocol. Pause. Detach emotion from observation. Ask yourself, do they encourage growth or only caution against it? Concern that never supports action is not protection, it's projection. Probe, share less. Move quietly, watch their reaction to your progress, not your explanations. Do they celebrate results, or do they downplay them? Protect. If your growth consistently triggers discomfort, sarcasm, or doubt, distance becomes wisdom, not to punish, but to preserve momentum. Because Stoicism teaches this: You do not owe anyone the right to slow your evolution, even if they've known you for decades, even if they say they mean well, even if walking alone feels strange at first. Your life is not a group consensus. The Stoic understands. People who fear change will call it reckless. People who fear your strength will call it dangerous. Neither label matters, only alignment does. So remember, those who truly care want you strong, even if it outgrows them. Those who envy you want you close, but smaller. The Stoic chooses growth over approval. Mantra: their fear is not my limit. Sign 6. They disrespect or humiliate you in front of others. This sign is not subtle, and it is not harmless. When someone humiliates you through sarcasm, jokes, comparisons, or dismissive comments, especially in front of others, they are not being honest or playful. They are asserting dominance. From a Stoic perspective, this is a line that matters deeply, because dignity is not ego. It is the outward expression of self-respect, and anyone who repeatedly undermines it in public is not confused about what they're doing. Watch how it shows up. They turn your flaws into entertainment. They interrupt you to correct or belittle you. They make jokes that sting, but then say you're too sensitive. And when you react, they accuse you of having no sense of humor, of overreacting, of making things awkward. This tactic is effective because it traps you. If you stay silent, you feel small. If you speak up, you look difficult. Stoicism offers clarity here. Disrespect disguised as humor is still disrespect, and humiliation, especially repeated humiliation, is never accidental. Ask yourself this: do they treat you this way when no one else is around, or only when there's an audience? Because public disrespect is not about truth, it's about status. And over time, the damage compounds. You hesitate to speak. You shrink your presence. You feel tension before social settings. This is how confidence erodes. Not overnight, but steadily. Stoicism does not teach you to tolerate degradation for the sake of harmony. It teaches you to protect your character, even when it costs comfort. The Stoic Protocol. Pause. Do not react emotionally in the moment. Observe the pattern. Once can be clumsy. Repeated behavior is intent. Probe. Address it calmly. Once, private, direct, brief, not to debate, but to clarify the boundary. Watch the response. Do they acknowledge and adjust? Or do they mock, deflect, or double down? Protect. If disrespect continues, distance is no longer optional, not to teach them a lesson, but to preserve your dignity. Because Stoicism teaches this principle. Where respect is absent, presence is optional. Even if others tell you to just ignore it. Even if confrontation feels uncomfortable. Even if leaving makes you look cold. Cold is better than diminished. The Stoic understands. Peace without dignity is not peace. So remember, anyone who regularly humiliates you is not someone you can grow beside. The Stoic does not beg for respect. He withdraws it. Mantra: I do not tolerate disrespect. Sign 7. You feel emotionally exhausted after every interaction. This sign doesn't scream, it whispers. And because it's quiet, many people ignore it for years. You meet them, you talk, nothing explosive happens. But afterward, you feel drained. Not tired in your body, tired in your mind. Your shoulders feel heavier, your thoughts feel cluttered, your patience feels thinner. From a Stoic perspective, this is not accidental, because emotions are not random, they are signals. And repeated emotional exhaustion is your mind telling you something here is costing more than it gives. This kind of fatigue often comes from invisible labor. You're always listening, always explaining, always adjusting your tone, your words, your reactions. You monitor yourself so they won't get upset. You absorb their negativity, their complaints, their chaos. And slowly, Your nervous system learns a pattern. Interaction equals depletion. Stoicism takes this seriously, because energy is not just physical, it is moral. Marcus Aurelius warned against allowing others to disturb your inner calm, not because people are evil, but because peace is fragile when unguarded. Watch how this shows up. Before seeing them, you hesitate. After seeing them, you need recovery time. You replay conversations, wondering what you could have said differently. That is not connection. That is chronic tension. Healthy relationships, even challenging ones, leave you clearer. Unhealthy ones leave you scattered. And here's the dangerous part. You may start blaming yourself. Maybe I'm just antisocial. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe this is normal. Stoicism rejects this confusion, because when something repeatedly drains you, it is not a character flaw to step back. It is wisdom. The Stoic protocol. Pause. Stop dismissing the signal. Ask yourself honestly, how do I feel after spending time with this person? Not what you think you should feel, what you actually feel. Probe. Change the pattern slightly. Shorter conversations. Less emotional availability. More silence. Observe the result. Do you feel lighter or pressured to re-engage? Protect. If exhaustion remains consistent, distance is required. Not dramatically, not angrily, but deliberately. Because Stoicism teaches this principle, you cannot live virtuously if your energy is constantly compromised. You're not here to be an emotional dumping ground. You're not here to absorb what others refuse to regulate, even if they've always leaned on you, even if you're the strong one, even if stepping back feels selfish at first. It isn't. Preserving your inner calm is not avoidance, it is discipline. The Stoic understands. Peace is not found by tolerating everything. It is found by choosing carefully what you allow close. So remember, if every interaction leaves you emotionally exhausted, that relationship is not neutral. It is extracting from you. And the Stoic does not argue with depletion. He withdraws from it. Mantra. Peace is my priority. Sign. 8. You set boundaries and nothing ever changes. This is the final sign, and it's the most important one, because by the time you reach this point, you have already tried. You've spoken calmly. You've explained your limits. You've reduced contact. You've given time. You've hoped, and yet the same behaviors continue. Different words, same outcome. From a Stoic perspective, this is where clarity replaces doubt, because Stoicism is not naive. It does not judge people by intentions or promises. It judges by patterns. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries after they've been clearly stated, they are not confused. They are making a choice. And here is the Stoic truth most people resist. A pattern that continues after a boundary is no longer accidental. At this stage, staying is no longer compassion. It is self-betrayal. Many people get stuck here because of one thought. What if this time is different? Stoicism answers that question coldly, but honestly. Hope is not a strategy, and patience without limits is not virtue. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people show you who they are, not once, but over time. And when reality is spoken clearly, ignoring it becomes irrational. Let's be precise. You're not cutting ties because they made a mistake. You're not cutting ties because they're imperfect. You're not cutting ties because relationships are hard. You're cutting ties because your presence has not inspired respect, only repetition. That matters. Because when boundaries fail, distance becomes the boundary. Not out of anger, not to teach a lesson, but to restore alignment. Stoicism calls this the final act of self-governance. The Stoic protocol. Pause. Stop revisiting old conversations in your head. The evidence is already complete. Ask yourself one clear question. If nothing changes, can I live like this for the next 5 years? If the answer is no, clarity has arrived. Probe. Do not negotiate boundaries again. Watch behavior, not words. Promises without change are not hope, they are delay. Protect. Choose distance. Quietly, firmly, without theatrics. Because Stoicism teaches this principle. When a pattern is clear, decisive action is kindness to yourself. You are not required to announce your departure. You are not required to justify it. You are not required to stay available for people who ignored your limits, even if they accuse you of changing, even if they call you cold, even if others don't understand. Growth often looks like betrayal to those who benefited from your silence. The Stoic accepts this, because living with integrity is more important than being liked. So remember this: boundaries are the invitation, change is the response. And when change never comes, distance is the answer. Mantra: I choose distance over damage. From awareness to action. The Stoic turning point. At this point, something should be clear. These signs are not about judging people. They're about seeing patterns without excuses. You're not being asked to cut ties impulsively. You're being asked to stop negotiating with reality. Stoicism does not rush decisions, but once clarity arrives, it does not hesitate either. So before you act, pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, do I feel calmer or more tense after interacting with them? Have I communicated boundaries and seen real change? Am I staying out of virtue or out of fear? Here is the Stoic rule that simplifies everything. If something is within your control, act. If it is not, release it. You cannot control who people choose to be, but you can control who you allow access to your time, your energy, and your mind. Distance does not always mean disappearance. Sometimes it means fewer conversations, less emotional investment, clearer limits, and sometimes it means walking away without drama, not to prove a point, not to punish, but to protect what Stoics value most: inner stability. As we close this video, remember this: you don't need permission to choose peace. You only need honesty. Choosing peace is choosing strength. Let's take a final breath here. You've just walked through 8 signs, not to judge people, but to see clearly. Stoicism was never about cutting people off lightly. It was about refusing to lose yourself for the sake of comfort, history, or guilt. Some relationships end loudly, others end quietly. The Stoic way is the quiet one. No announcements, no explanations, no revenge, just alignment. Remember this: your peace is not negotiable, and anyone who consistently disrupts it is asking you to choose them or yourself. Choosing yourself is not cruelty, it is responsibility. So if this video gave you clarity, sit with it. Move slowly, but move honestly. If you're ready, leave a comment with this sentence: I choose peace. If this resonated, like the video, share it with someone who needs clarity, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom on living with strength and dignity. Until next time, protect your mind, guard your character, and walk away without regret.